Looks like everything's going well. Set up a little bit nicer than yesterday, looking good so I can see chats from anyone in there. But since I've stood everyone up for the last few months, I don't expect anybody to be here. That's why I'm just getting back into it to get the ball rolling to people who want to train and learn how to form a healthy habit. And by healthy habit with Start Building Me, we mean not to be healthy, but to form a habit that you're not having to labor over or stressing over. The whole point is to try and encourage people to do healthy exercise, eat right, play sport through the sheer joy and passion of doing so. We think the fitness industry has hijacked this whole concept with stupid no pain, no gain slogans, and you have to look this way and you have to be the champion, you have to be the #1 in the world. At Start Building Me, we're trying to take a step back and encourage people to start exercising, because most people will be sitting on the couch thinking, I can't beat LeBron James or Gordon Ryan or Canelo Alvarez, Serena Williams, whoever it is that you look up to as a sports star. It doesn't really matter about that at all. All we're trying to do, folks, is to try and get you up off the couch and to form a healthy habit, to enjoy what exercise brings to your life. It creates discipline. That discipline crosses over to all kinds of attributes in life and will make you happier, it will improve your mental health, it will make you sleep better, it will make you a better person in general. Really, really generally, it will improve your life. And so I do this all day, every day. I love technology and I loved hearing the sound of my own voice. So I've been twitching for a few years trying to explain the basics of exercise to people and what's involved. So I won't be here for a long time. I'll be here for a short and concise time to show people some basics of what exercise requires to do it in a very quick, small space, in the private of your own room. Close your doors, no prying eyes. Get your mobile phone, set it up so you can see Dave in all his glory and doing these exercises that will help you. Now, the beauty of these videos that you'll see is just by coming here, you've made the first step into fitness. You've made the first step into the exercise realms and forming a habit, which is the dedication, setting the time aside and taking that first step and being like, I'm doing it. Here at 7 o'clock, hanging with Dave, doing some exercise. I'm not going to break your back. I'm not going to get into some specific intricate detail of sport and exercise. If you Google that stuff or ask me some key terms to Google if you want to progress, I can help you with that. But I don't want to reinvent the wheel. My goal here with Start Building Me is to just get you into a good habit of exercise. And this keystone habit, as Charles Duhigg explains it in his book, The Power of Habit, translates to any discipline that you want to do. If it's math, science, gardening, exercise is another thing, sport, of course, video games, anything where you learn discipline and have a strategy. And obviously the first thing that you want to have is a goal. Then you'll have metrics that you'll be working at to keep you inspired to keep on going. And that's what I'm here to show you. So as always, the clock's already started. It's at 7 o'clock. What I'm just going to do is explain to you the basics of squats. I'm going to have it, somewhere down there, I think on the left of the screen, or, sorry, over here on the right side of the screen, so I don't have to say it like a broken record every day. But I think reiterating it every night really hits in to everybody who's been training on Start Building Me, that it's excuse me, I've just drank a lot of water after the gym, that it's something that you do every day for the rest of your life. And instead of thinking, oh, that sounds like a sentence, it shouldn't be. It should be something where I'm trying to retrain your brain into thinking, wow, this is actually a really positive thing that you will do in your life. So I'm just going to be doing some, as you call, body weight squats. And, my back is pretty busted, so at the moment, you know, I'm not going to be a form stickler. I am just trying to get the basic compound movement with you guys. So I'm not going to be thinking the geometry and the setup and everything being equal. Obviously that pays dividends doing it properly over time. But what we're just trying to do is get you here, do a squat. Congratulations, pat yourself on the back, you've done a squat. That's more than you've done yesterday, and tomorrow maybe you might do 2. So we're just trying to get you into this habit where it should be fun, folks. It should just be coming here, talking about current events. I'll tell you what I did during the day. I'll tell you about my dogs who just turned my living room into the Thunderdome when I was in the gym. Came back and it was Mad Max. The rug was halfway up the wall, my shoes, my leather jacket, all this stuff's just all around the house, and I walk in the door and they take off, right? So, yeah, beware of my ongoing stories. So I'll start basically with some squats. So just think, it's like you're sitting down on a chair, and, you know, when I do squats, a lot of the time I'll let my back go forward. Now, sure, if I wanted to do them properly with a sumo squat so I could keep my back straight, but really, I'm not here to be a form stickler, folks. I'm here to just teach you something that you can do over the course of your day. Even if you're an office jockey, which I used to be, you know, shout out to all the office jockeys out there. You make the world go not exactly round, but you make stuff happen, whatever that stuff is in your head that you do in the office. So what you want to do is just think of yourself more or less symmetrically. A compound movement is something that integrates a whole lot of muscles in the flex and then extension element of it. So just think you're sitting down in a chair. Your feet are parallel, you're looking straight ahead. You can put your arms out as a counterbalance so you don't fall backwards. You take a deep breath and stand back up. I always explain it like a bellows. You might know a bellows from a Disney cartoon. I can't imagine many people use bellows anymore. Maybe you're an apprentice blacksmith. Who knows? Maybe you are just well read and know what a bellows is. Anyway, it's a thing that you use to stoke a fire, blows oxygen by, or air by pumping it into the flames, which is starved by oxygen down at the bottom, get the embers burning. So it sounds like that. So there's 5. Now, if that's all I do for the rest of the session, that's what I'm trying to explain to you. Is if that's the first 5 squats you've ever done in your life, or you've got a box underneath your butt, something to that effect that you can sit on it and then sit back up, or, you know, if you've got enough flexibility, you might want to go down and sit like that and give yourself a bit of a stretch. Hopefully you've got better shoulder flexibility and back flexibility than me. Nonetheless, it isn't terrible. But woohoo! That gets the heart rate up for me, and that's the aim of the game, folks, is getting your heart rate up, your blood pressure up, getting muscle, blood circulating through your muscles, tearing those muscle fibers, getting them to get into that phase of growth where it's going to be ripping up the muscle and then healing it, hopefully with the protein that you're having in your diet, right? And that's another thing that I'll get talking about in the mornings, is Dave's diet tips, and show you how to start a good habit with that. Because folks, contrary to what a lot of people say, you can actually eat almost anything, tasty food, whatever you want, as long as you exercise. There are some exceptions which I'll get into, but for the most of the time that I was doing competitive sport and bodybuilding or anything that I was competing in, I was basically eating more or less what I wanted, provided that there was a lot of fat and protein in there, but I also had a lot of sugar as well. So I'll be getting into that in the days whilst reviewing different stories that I read overnight about health and fitness. Let's try and do another one. Done, another exercise. That's what we're here for, just to try and get you into the habit. Come here, sign up, talk BS with me, talk about games, talk about music. I can tell you about drum and bass, metal, and hip hop and rap. That's pretty much all I listen to. I listen to some down tempo, some electro stuff as well. But I'm into whatever all the kids are into. Tell me what you're listening to lately. Make it more interesting instead of just 1, 2, 3, laboring it away. Like, the whole point is to get you in here to show you what is involved to do proper exercise and to get you into that habit. If you've done it a couple of weeks, a couple of months, even years that people have done it here with Startbuilding.me, they go and sign up to a soccer team, or they go and start bodybuilding, or they go and apply this same level of discipline to whatever that they're studying at university. The world's your oyster. The whole point that I'm really trying to hammer in is this should be fun, and forming a habit and getting good goals associated with that habit is something that should be a positive thing, and it's something that you have to retrain yourself into doing. It's awesome to be a novice, folks. It's the most fun you'll ever have, is being a novice and then being an expert, where you just are learning non-stop. You're in that unconscious incompetence phase, and there's nothing better than just scouring the internet, looking for positive things, seeing what's BS, or seeing what information is problematic or doesn't work. Sometimes information changes, especially in science. You'll have something that you used to believe was the fact and gospel, and then that changes and people find out it's ridiculous. So it's something that you really want to stay current with and get into it, and that's why I'm here. So come in here and do some squats. So this is the whole principle of this single channel, which is just not going to be that long, till I feel like that I want to go and get some dinner after the gym, because I've just been to the gym for 2 hours. Chance Blackburn, how's it going? Yeah, very good. I am here to teach anybody over the coming weeks and months about forming positive habits into sports, health, exercise, bodybuilding, whatever it is, even studies. And subscribe. It would be cool to see you back. But if not, no drama either. I know it's a wild world in Twitch and on the online streaming community. So see if any of this is applicable to you. Tune in and or come back. Big scruffy cat, howdy as well. Good to see some people in here in the chat lurking around. Folks, my aim of the game is not to reinvent the wheel, is to just come here if you never exercised before, or you just have been injured and you want to get back into it. That's what I am here for. I'm going to be doing it every day. I had been doing it every day, but then life got in the way and I've had to start into it. So subscribe to the channel. Be cool to see you drop in from time to time. It doesn't have to be laborious and come back every day, but the whole plan is to get people in here, do some body weight squats, get your heart rate up, get your blood pumping, go play video games, go eat dinner, go study, go do whatever it is else in your life. But if you're already training, cool. Tell people who don't train to come here and check it out. If they don't train, if they need some help, any help that you guys provide will be cool. And obviously in the end, I'm going to have prizes and all kinds of stuff going into this. But if you don't exercise and you want to get this habit of exercising, this is what I master in life, is to get you started off to the point where you might be inspired to start going off by your own, start going and training. If you already do, like I said, congratulations. Go spread the word, go help people that are struggling with the same thing as well. So I usually just wait for my office jockey mates who are computer scientists, software engineers to come in and drop, do some press ups with me, do some body weight squats. It looks really out of line when I do it. And obviously breathe, folks. Air is still free. Who knows for how long? It probably won't be for long, folks. They're going to start charging by the breath, and you know I'm right. So until that happens, take a deep breath. Think of the Zen aspect of training, not just, I want to look fit, or I want to be the best basketball player in the world, or the best boxer. Like, forget that stuff, right? At least for the time being. I just want people to come in, say, hey, I did a session today. And that session could be that. If you haven't done a squat today, you can do it underneath a chair or something like that. And just sit down on the chair like you normally would and stand back up. Sit back on the chair, stand back up. By doing that, you're doing a squat, and the squat integrates your posterior chain, which is your hamstrings, your glutes, and your lower back, obviously your quads as well, your quadriceps, which are a massive set of muscles. By getting the blood pumping through your body, you're raising your heart rate up, you're raising your blood pressure, and then you're letting it sink back down. Now, I can't stress this enough, but this will improve your video game playing. This will improve your mental health. This will improve how you sleep. This will improve your rehabilitation from exercise. I will do different breakdowns of different exercises, and then I'll, keep on coming back. I'll be answering questions. You can log on to Start Building Me on Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, whatever it is, and ask questions. I am sick of all these influencers who are trying to sell stuff. All this information's free, and you can do it, as I said, imagine this amazing green screen studio of my old Maroubra window view in New South Wales. You just need a box that could be in your room. You don't need anybody's prying eyes, anything like that. You just want somebody, a space that you can come, do 5, 10, 15 minutes of exercise and then be on your way, right? So that's what I'll be working on a daily basis. I'll set up different times so people can come in. I don't want anything from you. I just want people to come in and relax, We're getting bombarded at the moment with all kinds of crazy stuff online, all kinds of pandemics, war, plague. It's getting out of control. So the whole purpose of this, folks, is to just stop by, do some squats. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And hey, this is more bodyweight squats than I've even done for the last few months, or not really, for the last few weeks, so at least. So I'll be doing that. For once I hear some good newbie advice that I've been preaching for years. Yeah, sweet. Well, there you go. That's my whole point. And as long as you're preaching it for years, tell it to people. Here's a decent nutrition. Yeah, exactly, right? And it's crazy though. People really don't know that. Like, people think, they see anybody with muscles and they're on steroids. They see anybody who's good at a sport, or they're, healthy looking, and they've had a facelift, or they're on peptides, or they're on growth hormones. And it's usually the words of people who have never actually tried to form a good habit and exercise in their lives. So they just dismiss anybody's good progress as either luck, genetics, or cheating, right? The point that I try to make in Start Building Me is that this skill is so revered because you can't cheat it. You can't pay somebody else to do it for you. You can't buy it. You have to do it. But it's not hard. It's really easy. And if you spend 15 minutes here, like I've been to the gym for an hour and I come back here to try and rustle up all my computer science and engineering mates after they get back from the office, and to do a few squats with me, a few push-ups, get your heart rate up, and then go and have a beer. Go and have dinner. Go and do whatever it is that you're going to do. It doesn't matter what, but just schedule aside a bit of time for yourself to exercise on a daily basis. You don't have to break your back. You don't have to play a sport, even though sport's great and you can go out there. You don't have to eat 1,000 calories a day. You can basically eat what you want, provided you're going to do enough exercise to match the amount of food that you're putting into your mouth. So that's the plan, folks, is to badger anyone and spread the word. Anybody that you know who is lazy, young and haven't trained before. This is going to be kids friendly. Who has been injured and they're having to get back up. Rehabilitation, it's very daunting. I've been at stages from motocross injuries where I've broken my back and pelvis, and all kinds of bike crashes, car crashes, stuff where you have to start to learn to walk again. And it's a very humbling experience, but it teaches you a lot about yourself. Hey, I eat 3.5 calories a day, bro. I've been there before. The problem is eating enough, not less. Yes, well, it's funny, right? Obviously, you lift weights or you do sports or a bodybuilder or something. It's hard to explain that to people that that eating is like 80% of a lot of this, right? Because you'll be eating so much that your jaw gets sore. And that's a problem that I've had before in the past. Like 3.5, 5,000 calories a day, depending on what sport that is that I'm doing. Specifically something like bodybuilding usually. Calisthenics, that's awesome, man. Like that's new school. I dig it 100%. And that's what I'm working up to. If you can teach somebody some bodyweight squats, teach them to do push-ups. From doing push-ups and having core strength from a squat, you can teach them to do chin-ups. From chin-ups, you can do muscle-ups and start getting into the stuff that you do, right? So it's something that I'm trying to get into people's mind, is that you don't just go up like the bar stars, the bar star all stars or whatever they're called, those guys in the hood that just go and do all this ridiculous gymnastics, calisthenic stuff. People look at that and say, oh, that's daunting. I won't ever be able to do that. But that's crazy, right? Of course you can, but you've got to start here. Start building me. You've got to come and be mindful of the fact that you've got to form a habit and have a goal and get going from there. Not even that, a lot of calories isn't hard. If you eat garbage, that's true. Eating 3.5 of a balanced diet is a lot harder. It's like I said, I thought I had like cancer or something because my jaw hurt, and I didn't, until I became mindful of it. I was like, oh, something's wrong. Like I've got what are they called? Like an abscess under a tooth or a molar. It's going to get infected. And it's just eating. So yeah, I get it. Balanced diet is hard. Those guys have been training for a decade, man, at least. That's right, exactly. And yeah, exactly. And so it's funny, like it's cool to talk about this stuff to people like yourself who are already doing it. But I'm trying to explain, like I'm trying to think of different ways to explain it to people who, like we're living in this world now on Twitch where people will go and watch people play video games. Now, it's sort of interesting. I've checked it out, and obviously not for that long, not to sort of follow them that much, but there's sort of more that can be gained from getting off that position and doing something yourself, right? And so obviously you know that. And to me, calisthenics are cool. Like when you start getting into that, you start seeing what true strength is, because everything's coordinated. When you're doing bodybuilding, like nothing's really well coordinated like it is with powerlifting or boxing or calisthenic exercises. So that's why, whilst doing push-ups from various forms, from knees if people haven't been able to do a push-up strictly, and squats, like I said, box squats, sitting down on a chair and then just standing back up, to get that coordination in is something that is in dire need. There are some, it's actually not funny, but it kind of is. Like people are terribly coordinated at the moment, like all-time lows, and it's just like you're just going to be a downward spiral for the course of your life if you don't focus on some more coordination drills. I think being able to sustain, like it's sort of funny talking about this to a calisthenics dude, but to sustain yourself under gravity is a very, very foundational thing, and people struggle with that. Even a push-up is seen as something extreme, and so that's why, like I said, I'll be teaching it to people off their knees if they haven't done it. Mate, yeah, see, you obviously don't need to be here, squeaky voice Vlad, but it's cool to speak to you anyway. Yes, exactly right. It's 100% mental. And that's why Start Building Me is like, there's a book by a guy called Charles Duhigg who wrote a book, The Power of Habit. And I see exercise as what he calls a keystone habit. And by using this keystone habit, you're like, hey, wow, with a bit of consistency and a goal and time management, you get good at doing stuff if you have a consistent sort of play out in every day of doing something. And that translates to anything in life: university, programming, engineering principles, racing cars, whatever it is. But yeah, you're basically programming and developing your mind to be able to stay focused long enough to pursue something for a desired goal. Almost, yeah, exactly, compound. It's just gymnastics, isn't it, really? Wait, yes, totally, mate, exactly. I've got, I was on, I think I took a photo of some plants today on my Instagram account for startbuilding.me. I've got, is it Spud? I think Spud made it, is like a dip belt that I use to take the load off my back from doing squats, to hang kettlebells around my waist and to do box squats. But also, yeah, to hang kettlebells around my waist to do chin-ups, because I do rock climbing and bouldering as well. And you want to increase your strength beyond your own body's mass to really start getting growth. So exactly right. And that's going to be, I don't know, advanced.me, advancedbuildingme.me or something. As I've got aspirations to continue that on as well and get other experts to do it. I don't want to do that. I just want to get the novices off the couch and stop dying from a sedentary lifestyle and cancers and stuff that they can avoid just by doing some exercises. Yes. A mix is better for sure, but still, man, honestly, like if you just did calisthenics, you would be a healthy dude. You know what I mean? You'd be super strong, you'd be lean, you'd be coordinated. Like it's pretty like holistic generally as a skill. But if you could add that to something like rock climbing or bouldering like I do, you just become a weapon, because if you can do levers and all kinds of things in positions where, and even with one-handed levers and stuff, that just makes rock climbing a breeze. Yeah, yes, exactly. And also, like, what is fitness, right? Like, it's a weird goal that people have. Like, I want to look healthy, or I want to look like that person. Like, they sort of, instead of like, I want to improve myself, which is why I'm trying to take this idea of forming a healthy habit, and not healthy as in healthy diet, healthy exercise, healthy as in so you want to do it for the right reasons. And when you start doing something for the right reasons, you're going to have that goal, you're going to work towards it, you're going to want to do it. If you've got a goal like, I want to look like some bimbo from a TV show, or himbo for that matter, it's not going to be sustainable. You're not going to want to keep on doing it continuously, and consistency is power, which is why I'm here banging on this stuff to any person, kid, anybody that comes in here, including people like you who obviously have their chops and skills down, because hopefully if you have a friend or somebody in your family who's just a couch potato, you can just say, go to Start Building Me, speak to Dave, it's going to cost you nothing. Do it in your room. Nobody's watching. I do not care. I'm not going to see you. I'm not going to judge your technique. I'm just going to be like, do a few squats with me. I'll explain how, show the technique, explain exactly what I'm doing, try to keep symmetrical, try to keep coordinated. Tried and true formula that I've been doing since I was a child, and hopefully get people into the idea that it should be entertaining and it should be fun, right? Like, it's why I set out to do it, because it's just so crazy to see people see exercise as a chore. It's literally the best thing in my day. And it's like, it's the best thing in most people's days, you know, if it's Tai Chi, yoga, getting out. I love walking my dogs. I love going to the pub, not the pub, I don't go to the pub, not anymore at least, to the park and going and doing chin-ups and going to do the bars and hanging upside down and doing that stuff as well. Let's see, specialize in niche goal. Okay, I did that, agreed. When it simply increase your lifespan and hit once a week. I've heard that, once a week training, man, once a week weights is pretty much, they say, is all that's required. Yeah, man, 100%. And like, as long as you're looking after your knees and your ligaments and your tendons, which I get into on Start Building Me as well, then HIIT's great, you know? It's, I wouldn't go as far as maybe, you know, busting your body up with bad technique doing CrossFit, but there are plenty other of high interval trainings. I grew up boxing and wrestling. You can do so many different boxing routines as high intensity interval training. Sorry, I just drank like 3 liters of water at the gym and then ran home, which was pretty dumb. You won't get ripped. Yes, exactly. That's not the goal. Exactly right. And what a crazy set up for failure that is somebody walking in there like, I want to be a Mr. Olympia contendant and like a competitor, and they've never trained before. Like, you're setting yourself up for failure. And like, it's trivial when you're explaining to somebody just walking around the block will improve your day. Like, people sort of look at me cockeyed, cross-eyed, like I'm crazy. And it's just like, when I take my dogs out and seeing their enthusiasm, I'm getting sun on my face, I'm getting that sort of sound in my ears, I smell different things. Like, it improves your day. And that could just be walking, like I said, Freudian slip before, to the pub. Walk it to the pub and back. Walk to the supermarket and back, school and back, to the bus station and back. It will make your life better if you can avoid sitting in traffic. Man, I sat in traffic for 15 years in my career. It's a nightmare if you can avoid it. My goodness. Yeah. Yes. Well, look after yourself. And that's like what I'm getting into a lot now, especially with calisthenics, joint mobility drills, and rehabilitation techniques. I've just built myself an ice plunge from an old chest refrigerator, freezer, and that's going really cool. But that's more of a mental thing as well, man. Like, when you're sitting in that and you're focusing on your breathing, you're not thinking of anything else. You're not thinking, why is my wife mad at me? Why did my boss get the shits? Why did the dogs tear up my living room? Like, you're just thinking, breath goes in, breath goes out. Breath goes in, breath goes out. You're just staying really in that moment, just like anything that's difficult. And how did I do it? The cold plunge? There's photos of it on the Instagram. I took a video of it in there. How's the situation in terms of exercise and nutrition? What, for me? So basically, or what I'll be explaining to people in terms of exercise and nutrition. So, but explaining to people, no way, okay. Yeah, no, that's definitely true. And it's, fast food, junk food, sugar, 3,500 to 5,000 calories a day of junk food where people don't exercise at all. Yeah, Perth, awesome. That's the other side of the country from me, but a very nice place nonetheless. I'm in tropical far north Queensland, but I grew up in Germany, so I've been to Europe and I've worked in Roland, Switzerland, and Germany and Prague and some different places when I used to work in healthcare. So I love Europe, have German heritage, and it's very cool. But it's here. Look, Australia has a great sporting culture, but sporting culture usually means people train at school, stop training after school, and then watch sport, right? And now I've got no problem with that. I'm nuts into Champions League football, Premier League, Bundesliga soccer, obviously Eintracht Frankfurt. I will watch that every day, but people should use that as inspiration to go to the park and kick a ball or do something. And Australia is getting really American in that regard. We're starting to get lazy, eating food whilst watching sport and not really getting out and doing much. So there's like the 10% of the population that are absolute diehard athletes here, going out hunting, bush trails, motocross, surfing, I do all this stuff as well, rock climbing. And then the majority, unfortunately, of the population, the total opposite, couch potatoes. Now, funnily enough, in Europe, when I lived in Europe, I think the general level of health is actually better in Europe. I think you get more people who are out there, like generally going and walking, going out with their dogs, riding bikes, doing stuff like that. More so than America, Australia, Freudian slip again, we are becoming like America. Love UFC as well. Yeah, well, exactly. Like, you know, they should feed off each other. Like, I love the UFC as well. I grew up watching boxing and did boxing, then went to Pride Fighting Championships in Japan, and then was sort of a latecomer to the UFC around the time John Jones got in. And now I'm obsessed with it. Obviously, it's a crazy sport, especially since boxing's going down the gurgler because it's so corrupt. I mean, there are some questionable UFC decisions, like that Chinese guy the week before last who lost. That was the most blatant Las Vegas mafia judge payoff that I've ever seen in the UFC in recent times. But, you know, yeah, it should be inspiring people to get out there and do some sort of discipline, even if it's boxing and going, I've got a floor-to-ceiling ball in my garage and it's just like a cat and a mouse, you know, you can go out there and hit the bag and blow off some steam and do something different. So it's an interesting time we're living in. Like, there's people like you and me, and then there's people who will make up any excuse not to get off the couch. Everybody has a chronic illness these days. My shoulders are totally screwed. My knees are screwed. I've got glandular issues. Now, what sucks about this is that there are people that have glandular issues and chronic issues and they can't exercise or something, but it's a very small percentage of the population. But the power of thought means that if you can convince yourself you're broken, and you will be broken, right? Which is, again, the step back that I take with Start Building Me, is to just get people out and just to do something really simple, right? To explain to somebody like a bodyweight squat and what that involves. Or I won't switch to my floor camera, but doing a push-up, even where you're not leaning forward, you might just be like this and just dipping into it a little bit with your shoulder. You're getting your heart rate up, you're getting your blood pumped up, and then you relax and go and have some dinner. But you've accomplished something. You've done one push-up more than yesterday, or you've done one squat more than yesterday, or whatever it is. And the more you come here, on startbuilding.me, there's the Twitch will log, or I think it even does here, logs how much time you've done, and you get points for training based on how much time you've been here. So the aim of the game is to start awarding people some sort of prizes from sponsorships that I'm contacting now to encourage them to come. So it's like the reverse. Instead of paying to go to the gym, you're paying people to come here and do something. By doing that, you know, they won't drop dead when they're 50 or 60. So everybody wins, because the taxpayers in the end pay for the people who have sedentary lifestyle and who eat too much. So corporations could pay a system like this to encourage people to exercise, which would reduce the taxpayer burden of sedentary lifestyle and over-consuming people. Like I said, it's a mindset. I feel sorry for people who don't see the power of exercise. I'm not like, oh, you lazy fat people or something like that. It's just people who need to be retrained, programmed, if you will. Yeah, oh man. It's like I'm speaking to myself. Yeah, man, totally. And even watching gaming, people that don't even play the game anymore. A lot of them are just watching somebody else play the game. And look, I'm so crazy that I don't think I'm crazy at all, right? You know, they say true crazy people or true mentally ill people, they don't think there's anything wrong with them. That's me, right? My whole life, I still see a therapist, psychiatrist, and speak to them and say, I don't think there's anything wrong with me. And they say, oh, I don't really think that there's anything wrong with you either. As they say, it's not a good measure to be well adjusted to a sick society. So when I'm walking around and seeing people that are, don't want to work or, make up some sort of feeble excuse to having mental health issues and stuff like that, I feel sorry for them, because it gives not people like me, but it gives people with legitimate mental health issues a sort of a bad name, and it sort of nullifies the true crazy people out there. But despite having all these labels put on me my whole life with ADHD, post-traumatic stress disorder stuff, like, it's just a label, right? And it's like, how many people, and I'm not saying I'm great, but there are people that do a lot of accomplished things in their life and people think they're nuts, like Elon Musk and, you know, Jeff Bezos back in the day, and people, not just business people, but, you know, other like athletes and people who have just, you know, come to be great from doing something very unorthodox. So yeah, you're feeling the fiber of my fabric here 100%. And look, I think a lot of these people are being brainwashed by media and, you know, social media, and, oh, you know, they read a newspaper article, is like, oh, if you have trouble sleeping, there's a good chance that you've got ADHD or something, and so people just self-diagnose themselves, and they're like, okay, I've got ADHD, I can't exercise, you know, I can't focus on it, I've got ADHD, or whatever it is, depression, anything that you want to label, people take on that label and use an excuse to not do anything. And I mean, like I said, that's just really sad to me, because to me, exercise is the panacea. Like, if you want to be mentally well, if you want to get rid and treat your mental health issues, you have to exercise, you have to be healthy. And if you do that and you actually do it, not just say, I tried walking yesterday, it did make me feel better. It's like, of course it didn't, you know. If you step it up a notch and do it consistently, you might find yourself sleeping better and then getting better with your mental health. Yeah, right, cool. Well, mate, it's good that you got a brain in your head. Yeah, well, mate, that's research is just as important, mate, as the people who dole out the research and the people who actually do the research. I worked in healthcare for 17 years, and the people who do the work is not always the people who you assume in healthcare. So it's such a vast area. So yeah, I know some people who do that research for universities and companies. I know it's very cutthroat, and so stay mentally sane, my friend. Keep on exercising. Oh man, 100%. And not only that, every year it's like the flavor du jour, right? So since I've been growing up, autism or autistic spectrum disorder, Asperger's, ADHD, post-traumatic stress disorder, borderline personality disorder, what else have I been labeled? Like, it just changes every year, and to the point where, like I said, like, I don't feel like there's anything wrong with me at all. Like, I get up early, I exercise, I work hard, I've made money and still make money, I've got dogs, I've got family that I love me, like, my life is really good. And it's just so funny where instead of being like, oh, but I've got this, therefore something should be wrong, you're like, I've got this based off the opinion of one dude. Even if he's a doctor, he's just a human being. And like, I'm not, you know, in this era where everybody's shitting on science and doctors, like, I'm not one of those, but there are still dumbass doctors, as you're probably well aware, right? They're just humans, and humans make mistakes. So yeah, overdiagnosing is absolutely crazy, because in the end, like, from the psychiatrists that I speak to and who actually treat me, they say there are people that come in that they will be taking notes with, like, should I speak to an authority? Like, should I call up a local hospital or the police? This person is going to be trouble. There's not that many people. Like, what do they say? 3% of the population are actually those people. So why is it that everybody thinks that they're part of that 3% all of a sudden? Like, you know, I know statistics can be misleading and appropriated to suit whatever your needs are, but not to that level that everybody's, you know, out there with some serious mental health issue. Yeah, man, exactly right. And, you know, from growing up in Germany, I read non-fiction, and I'm interested in non-fiction, and I'm very frank, because in German culture it's very frank. You walk in, someone stinks, and you say, bro, you stink, right? When you come back to Australia and people sort of skirt around those issues, people like me seem insane, right? So because you just walk in and you're just like, somebody, you know, you're boxing or they do something, you're like, that was terrible, that was a terrible squat, you're going to break your back. Drop the weight, you can't lift that weight yet, and people get so personally offended by constructive feedback. You know, maybe it is delivered a little bit coarse and a little bit crudely, but nonetheless, just because of that execution, I don't consider myself mentally ill. You know what I mean? So, like I said, I think this day people really want to belong, and like, you know, there are exceptions to the rules. There are people that have some real issues, and like I said, it's a sick society and we're all living in it. So people can get issues, of course, but it's it's twisted to want to belong to a group of mentally ill people. Like, there's that Groucho Marx saying, I wouldn't want to be part of a club that has me as a member, and that's the way I think of everything in life. Like, man, if you want to jump in and be part of a mentally ill crew, like, it's sort of like a Batman Arkham Asylum or something like that, you know? Like, you want to be part of some mentally ill gang, it's a pretty low bar to set, right? So, and look, and it's the same deal, like, when did the chicken and egg sort of thing, like, what came first, the mental health or a shit diet and no exercise, right? And a bad environment, no sleep, not enough water, too much caffeine, whatever it is. And I've never in my life met somebody like me who's just like, I've got to exercise, it's a panacea, I've got to eat right because I will feel rubbish otherwise. If somebody's like, you know, I've got issues and they haven't exhausted diet and exercise, then you're just like, well, it couldn't be that bad then, right? Because if it is that bad, like me, you'd be watching what you diet and not getting too much processed sugars to inflame yourself, to jump in a 3-degree ice bath as soon as I stop speaking to you, which has been cool. So tell me to shut up whenever, I've got to go cool out in the ice bath. I put the video up on Instagram, and that relaxes my mind, puts me into a nice relaxed state to get to bed, listen to Sam Harris's Waking Up app to do some guided meditation. Like, it's just what you want to do to stay sane. Like, you've got to work at it, basically. Yes, definitely, and of course, people have genetic predispositions. I'm never ruling that out. Of course, and bringing in development, yes, of course, nature and nurture, and like I said, like I feel like I'm 40 now. I was born in 1982. Even though I've come up working in my career through 99, 2000 financial crisis and the 2008 crash, the opportunities that were afforded to me now, I think, are far more than you guys now or younger people coming up through the systems. It's a lot more dog eat dog, a lot more cutthroat. I wouldn't want to be 20 or 30 now because the opportunities are far, far less than what I was afforded back when I started coming into my career about 20 years ago. So I feel that's exactly why I'm doing this. I'm giving back to people, and like, don't beat yourself up. You can always start again. You can always rebuild yourself from the ground up, from starting to walk and listening to my videos and talking about how you can improve your diet and how you can just get back on track. It's not as hard and as daunting as people think. What people do is they log onto Instagram and see all these influencers who are on peptides and steroids and all the good stuff. I'm not going to lie. It's fantastic stuff and it works, but it's not reality, right? And so many people are being subjected to the health industry, which, you know, or the fitness industry, which there's no health or fitness in the fitness industry, much like I think there's not much care or health in healthcare either. And so they're getting misled into this system where they're being set up to failure. Like you said, I want to become a Mr. Olympia contendant. It's like, it's not realistic. Like, you got to think of not only all the steroids that you got to be pumping into yourself from a young age, but do you have the genetics to start, you know, from scratch to be competitive in that ultra division? And I think it's very off-putting is when, you know, like if not with Start Building Me, but on my personal Instagram, it's like, you know, people are scrolling through and you're just seeing tight yoga pants, ass, boobs, whatever. And yeah, it's great to look at, but it's literally pornography. It's something that's not going to inspire you to go and exercise it. You're just going to become fodder for somebody else, some other person that's leading you astray. 25, yeah, good age, mate. Life keeps on getting better. Don't worry. People are always like, oh, I'm 30 now, I'm getting old, mate. 30 was sweet. 40 is even better. You've got more money, you've got more time. I don't go to the office anymore. I don't work for anyone. My assets work for me. Cutthroat, yeah, not as much to think. That's cool. I know younger people are pretty progressive in the true sense, not the sort of hijacked political terminology, but sort of forward-thinking, liberal, cool people. Like my cousins are all mid-20s and they're an upgrade off me, that's for sure. I'm like Homer Simpson and they're something a lot more suave and sophisticated. More people in low positions nowadays, that's true. A lot less competition for high-end achievements, that's true as well. And also with technology, a mate of mine who is also a medical researcher, there's so many opportunities now for distributed research and setting yourself up and doing your own research with very low overheads and low capital requirements. So it's not like back in the day where you have to go to Cardinal Health or McKesson or Pfizer and say, I need a grant to study this. You can get much smaller players to assist you in some sort of research that you want to do, and that can spearhead you into some venture capitalist hands who will either support you or buy you out, and then you can move over to the next project. So it's an exciting time, and you've got to think that way. You've got to think in terms of the modern market, and it's not sign up to a company after university, work there until you retire and get a gold watch. That never happened for me. I've been a contractor since I was 20 years old as a computer scientist. I never jumped into a company and got a permanent contract and holidays and leave and sick leave and that stuff. I'm a mercenary. So I would go in and program for different engineering companies, specifically for healthcare, but also the film industry, finance, a couple of other industries, petroleum exploration. And yeah, you just have to grind and keep your head above the water. Grants always comes with strings attached, mate. Everything comes with strings attached. Yeah, well, mate, there's something noble about it. A lot of mates of mine who did research in academia and still do, there's strings attached there as well, as you would well know, you know what I mean? There's the in crowd and the out crowd. It's always going to be cliquey, so as long as you can keep it pure, mate, then that would be really cool. Yeah, well, I'll be interested to see, as they say, when you're 25 and not a socialist, you don't have a heart, and when you're 40 and not a capitalist, you don't have a brain. So it makes sense from a psychological standpoint. You get all bitter and twisted when you turn 40. It just happens. Just something clicks on you and you become a miser. I'm just joking, of course, that's not true. Anyway, squeaky voice Vlad. It's been awesome speaking to you, man. Sign up to my channel because every now and then I want to speak to you if you're online at this point in time. Tell me what you're researching. Do some bodyweight squats with me. Yell at my friends once they start coming back. It's like I said, even if you don't turn up regularly, I'm trying to get people in here who encourage me to keep on talking about interesting stuff, man. You got a brain in your head. That's very obvious. Yeah, everything's political these days. More bureaucracy rather than screw your results to make it fit my plan. Yeah, well, man, that's what made my mates go to the private sector. Make some food. That's exactly the point. Hopefully you've done a squat to make it worthwhile, or a push-up, or you've probably just done a bunch of calisthenics like I've done at the gym. But I'm getting back on track. Drop by every now and then. Be cool. And it's been an absolute pleasure for me. Thanks for listening, man. Thanks for chatting, and take it easy. Enjoy dinner, lunch, whatever it is. Breakfast?